everyone. Goodness, let's see, what is today? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. It's Debbie Grote here. We have a very fun topic today. We're just going to spend a few minutes together to learn a few classic closes. And there are many. I think in my research, there's probably something like 25 or so that are time tested, used for many, many decades by high level sales professionals in all industries. So we're going to learn just a few today. I thought, what's that old saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And then please know that we're also going to send you a copy of this recording. So that way, if you say, oh, that went a little fast for me, this recording will come your way. So my name is Debbie Grote. For those of you I have not met, I saw a few new names on our roster joining us today. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Forward Coaching. Some of the favorites and regulars here know that I've been in the real estate business since I was 18 years old. And I was just really fortunate at the time to go to work for a broker who was a very great man, like high in integrity in how he served his clients, not a gimmicky or salesy or pushy type of salesperson, but he also really had some incredible sales skills, and he expected that I would learn them. And so I was really lucky to get some great training at a very early age around some of the things that are classic and easy to use. But as we say that, I want to say, with the highest respect to the clients and customers we're working with, we know that no matter, your own mother who loves you is not going to buy a house from you if she doesn't want to. So when I think about sales techniques of any sort, I think about them in the sense that our goal is to use the right process to help them overcome their fear and hesitation to achieve their goal. So it's not to push them or manipulate them, but we all know they came to you for a reason, whether it's to buy or sell, and then they get stuck in the weeds of the fear and hesitation, and they don't move forward. And that's why classic closes were invented. So these that we're going to work on today, they're classic and they're timeless, and they've actually withstood the test of time because they work really well. So remember, they're not gimmicks. Think of it instead as a framework to help your clients break through that fear and hesitation to achieve their real estate goals and dreams more easily. And I do think it's important to remember that all of our buyers and sellers, they make decisions based on emotion. Now, even the very most analytical, if you're selling a home to a rocket scientist, that rocket scientist, who is probably the highest analytical you could be on the scale of, being analytical, he's still going to make, or she's still going to make, their decision based on emotion. That rocket scientist would just need a lot more logical reasons to justify the decision they need and want to make. So these classics help them find logical reasons to work through their fears. So when you utilize these techniques, it's important not only that you understand them, but we also want to remember that awareness of how to adapt them to various personality types and situations. So it takes a little bit of practice. And in any closing situation, you might actually need more than one technique. So it's important to remember that they have to first want to or desire to sell or purchase. And then these techniques are just that gentle nudge to make it easier for them to make a decision. This one is absolutely one of my favorites. It's called the Ben Franklin close or the pros and cons close, whatever you prefer to call it. I think it's called the Ben Franklin close because I read once that that's how Ben Franklin made important decisions in his life. He would take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, have two columns, and on one column, he would write all the pros of a decision he was seeking to make. On the other column, he would write all of the cons. And by looking at those side by side, it would help him realize which might be the better decision. So let me give you an example. And Jan says, yes, she uses that with her clients too. It's just so helpful. Like you could literally take a piece of paper out and say, you know, Mr. Buyer, I know you loved that last home, and I know you're struggling a little bit about whether or not we should move forward with negotiations. So here's an idea for us. Let's take this piece of paper. I'm going to draw a line down the middle, and together, let's compile the pros and cons. So tell me, let's start with the pros. What did you love about the home? So they're telling you those things. Well, I had a big kitchen. Let me write that down. Had a great backyard. Let me write that down. Was close to the school. Okay, I'll write that down. And as they do the pros, if they miss any, you may even want to fill in and say, well, what about this one? Well, what about this one? Now they've got their nice big list of pros. Because quite frankly, guys, if they didn't like the house, if it wasn't right for them, we wouldn't even be doing this exercise, right? So they do like it. They're just a little stuck. So we help them compile that list of pros. Now, when you go to the con side, you be quiet. And the reason I say that is it's really not up to us, to tell them something negative about the house. That's our opinion. I don't like the fact that the kitchen it's not in the back, facing the backyard. It's in the front of the house. Well, that's my opinion. Now, if I know something that is a material fact that is wrong with that property, that's different. I might say, well, it is located on a busy street. However, the pro is it's about 20% below market value of a home on the interior. So material facts are fine, but you let them come up with the cons. Now, at the end of that, if it is the right property, it's going to clearly show them that the pros outweigh the cons. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, now that we've completed this exercise, do you feel comfortable taking the next step to start the negotiations? Right? Pretty easy. So you draw that line down the middle of the page, help them list all the pros, taking the action you're discussing, then let them list the cons. Let them think, give them a moment, let them struggle if they need to create that. If it is the right situation for them, the pros will outweigh the cons. If the cons outweigh the pros, then guess what? Not the right situation. The summary close. And by the way, that pros and cons close works really good for someone analytical because they like to work through and see it on paper. So in the summary close, I'm basically summarizing what are the benefits of taking the action they need to take, and be specific and make it exciting. So for example, if I'm meeting with someone and they're kind of on the fence about, well, I know I want to sell, I'm just not sure when is the right time to get my home on the market. And in my discussion, I've shared some thoughts and ideas, and now I'm going to summarize those. And I say, so now that we've spent a few moments together, Mr. Seller, if you think about it, by listing the home today and hitting the market next week, we kind of beat the crowd. And in other words, all the sellers that are waiting until after Memorial Day to list their home when their kids get out of school, buyers are out shopping now. But when we start now, we beat the crowd. And that means that we may have a potential to have a competitive bid situation. That means that we may ultimately achieve a higher price. So just simple, whatever the benefits are for them, you're summarizing those benefits. So let's say if it's a buyer, Mrs. Buyer, we know that this home is within your budget. It is the right school district, and it is the move-in condition that you preferred, and you love the floor plan. So, based on that, all we need to do next is start the negotiation. So you see, I summarized 4 critical benefits. We've already discussed them. I know she wants them. I know she likes them. But see, by summarizing that, I help her mind see the logic, which helps her justify taking that action she wants to take emotionally. Now, you notice you're never going to hear me say, so do you want to make an offer? That scares people. I don't know. Do I? Should I? Or, so do you want to sign the listing? I don't know. This is such it's a hassle. Dread getting the home on the market. Instead, if I know that they're happy, I know that it's logical, I know that we've been moving forward gracefully in that conversation, I remember that 98% of the world prefers to be led. So I'm just going to lead them. I'm going to make it easy. So we know it's in your budget, the right school district, the move-in condition you preferred, the floor plan you love. So here is all we need to do next. We just start the negotiation. And I have the paperwork here prepared. So what we need to decide is what is the most you'd be willing to pay to hopefully ensure that another buyer does not take your home away. See how easy it is? Now, if they're not ready, they're going to stop me. If they stop me, I'm going to put my pen down. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to understand where they stuck. I'm going to listen to ensure that they actually do want to move forward and not just keep pushing them to sign an agreement. Okay? The takeaway close. So in the takeaway close, this is a psychological technique that involves suggesting that perhaps the action isn't right for them, which gives them a lot of freedom of choice, freedom to consider options. And also, this might actually spark them to realize that they don't want to lose the opportunity. So, for an example, I could say, Mr. Buyer, yes, absolutely, you could submit a lower offer if you choose. Now, as your advisor, knowing that this property is pretty hot, and I've talked with the listing agent, and there's a lot of activity, other offers are already written. So if you submit the lower offer you choose to do, that may mean that it's not likely that you will win the bid. So if you're not excited enough about this home to offer more, or if it's just not the right home for you, you know what? maybe we shouldn't submit at all. So you see, I really want to be careful in my tonality, coming from gracious, trying to understand, coming from curiosity, and just pointing out the thoughts, the steps, and asking the questions. So, if it's a hot property, guys, and we know I have this all the time. My husband, because he does a lot of probate, he's got one going right now. And I think right now there's like 8 offers in on it. Every single offer is already written above asking. So yesterday, an agent called and said, I have a buyer who wants to submit a bid 20% below asking. And my husband said, well, your buyer is more than welcome to submit whatever they choose. However, I want to let you know we have all of these bids already well over asking. Perhaps your buyer should consider submitting a higher offer or going to find a more affordable property, right? And that's really a takeaway. So, how would I use it with a seller? Let's think about that for a minute. So, let's say that a seller really, really needs to move. They have a job transfer, and there's a short time frame, and I'm sitting with them, and they want to significantly overprice their property. I could say, well, Mr. Seller, I certainly understand you want the most money possible. However, the market simply will not support that value. So maybe, perhaps, you want to consider not selling the property, renting it out, holding it for a few years. Well, no, I can't do that because I need the money to buy another home. Oh, well, then based on that, here's what we should do next. Right? So you say, it's okay. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. You kind of take that away. If they really want it, they're going to reach back out for it. This one is one of my favorites, the third party story close. People love stories, and people want to learn from the great successes others have accomplished. How can I follow that model? Or the big mistakes others have made, how can I avoid that? So, best way to give you an example is I want to tell you about the first sale I ever made, my very first buyer ever. So I'm 18 years old, and these are friends from my husband's high school. So she's 19, he's 20, they're buying their first home. So I'm all excited. We like them, they're friends. I take them out, I show them houses, found the cutest little house for them. So adorable, great yard, exactly in the street, not just the neighborhood, but the street that they wanted to live on. It's California Street. I still remember because it had bigger lots, just had this great vibe. So we come back to the office, and I said, it's a great house, right? Let's take it. And they said, we got to think about it tonight. We love it, but we have to think about it tonight. And I said, okay, well, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Because I'm a new agent, I'm not realizing the consequences that could happen by doing that. Plus, they're friends. I don't want to push them. So I said, fine, call you tomorrow. Well, guess what happened? They bought another house, or excuse me, that house sold. It sold that evening. And when I told them, when they called me and said, we love it, we want to buy it, I said, great. Let me call the agent, come in to write the offer. The agent said, we sold it last night. I called them back. They were distraught. They were so sad. And you know what? She said to me, if you only had told us that we might lose it, we would have written the offer last night. I didn't tell them that. So did I ever sell them a home? I did. I sold them one. They actually still live in it. So I did. I sold them one. But you know what? Almost never does a year go by where that house doesn't come up. Oh, we drove by that house we were going to buy. It's still so cute. Oh, we wish we would have got that house. This one's fine. So I let them down. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, as we're sitting here tonight and I saw how much you love that home, if you want to go home and think about it, please know I am completely fine with that. What I'm not fine with is you losing a house you love. So if you love it, please don't let that happen to you. My suggestion is we move forward and start the negotiations. What I'll even do, guys, in this situation is if they're still nervous, I'll say, well, let's write the offer. That will allow me to honestly call the agent and say, I have an offer prepared and signed, and I will be sending the offer over tomorrow. That gives you tonight to sleep on it, but at least the agent possibly will not sell it without letting me know, right? Like without pulling us into the mix. So I'm going to do everything I can, and that way you don't lose the home, right? So that's third party story. So assumptive close. Of all the closes, this one is the best. And this is where you basically, I think it's so powerful that it should be woven into everything you do. It's in your language. So I'll give you an example. If I'm talking to someone to book an appointment to come and discuss listing their home, I don't say, if you list your home with me. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when we meet and when you choose to list your home with me, I'm going to give you a complete plan of action along with a list of preferred vendors. I'm going to take you through every step so that it is stress-free. So I'm always speaking in a language that is assuming that they're going to choose me, that they're going to do what I ask them to do. Because remember, people prefer to follow a leader. So lead them. So when I list your home, as we work together, when you choose me as your agent. So it's just gracious. It's woven right in to your everyday language. Then the bonus close. And then I'll come over to the chat box, guys. So we got a few minutes. Type in your questions. The bonus close, I call this the ultimate close. So there are so many, many more we could study today, but we have limited time, plus it would just blow your mind. So let's talk about the bonus close, the ultimate close. This is someone who you have worked hard. You have tried every logical step to help them realize that if they want X, they have to do Y, right? Like if this is what you're trying to achieve, then this is what we need to do next. And they're just not doing it. And you're quite frankly at your wit's end. You just don't know what else to do to help them see that this is our next step to achieve your goal. That's what I might use the ultimate close. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I know you need to be at your new job in a week. I know you have to sell your home. I know that renting out the home is not an option. So what we're going to then need to do today is list the home at a price that will cause it to sell or not. And I think we realize we need to list the home today. So here's our next step. So it's kind of saying, this is do or die. this is the time. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I know you love the home. There are 5 offers on this home. They're being reviewed tomorrow. So at this moment, we either make a decision to submit a bid or we don't. And you find another home. This, though, is our moment to decide, right? So it's like it is the ultimate close. And yes, buyers and sellers, I agree, are allergic to pressure. And when I think of pressure, I think of that they have a salesperson that potentially doesn't care about them, hasn't listened to them, hasn't asked enough questions to have a deep understanding of them, and therefore they're pressuring them to do things they have no interest or desire to do. And that's just icky and horrible. What I think of instead is guidance. So, how are you guiding them to self-realize, to get past that fear and make that decision? Because when you think about it, the ultimate close is not pressure. It's here we are. Option A, we move forward to achieve the goal you have, or option B, we don't. Now, though, is the moment that we should make that decision, right? So, guys, see what I mean? All right, so let's see what else is in the chat. So Margella said, I had a situation with buyers, and when I honestly shared that there was another offer, etc., if they don't come to the table, they were turned off. You have to tell them the truth, right? So I think it would be very wrong for you to know that there are other offers and not share that with them. Unfortunately, you might have happened to have just a really distrustful person. Maybe someone that had a bad experience in the past with an agent that lied to them. Or perhaps you had not known them well enough or long enough to have enough trust or rapport. And quite frankly, maybe they were even a little bit clueless about what's going on in the market. Because if you think about the buyers and sellers of the last few years with inventory being low, they know that they may be competing. So it would make me wonder, how real were these buyers, right? So that's what I would really take a look at. And yes, Dante, absolutely, we're sending you a copy of this recording. And by the way, I am sure you all have in the back of your mind some really good third-party examples and stories of buyers or sellers that you counseled and they didn't listen and they did the wrong thing and it was harmful. Or they listened and they did the right thing and they had a tremendous benefit. And it's okay to borrow other people's stories and say, a friend of mine, they were sharing a story with me the other day about a first-time home buyer just like you who fell in love with the home and hesitated, and this is what happened, right? Let's see, I want to go to the next one. What if they're already underselling price they bought? Oh, I think you mean they're a short sale. So basically, Uma, that they don't have equity. And that there is not a lot of those these days, but there's definitely a few. So here's the bottom line, guys. We can't fix that problem for them. All I can do is tell them the truth about the market. And if I said, I realize that if the home sells for the current market value, that you will not profit and you will, in fact, have to bring money to the table to close the transaction. Now, the other option would be we can approach your bank to see if they would cooperate with a short sale. So, which one do we want to do? Right? See, we can't take away the problem that they're in. All we can do is tell them the truth and then give them their options. And quite frankly, people do really well when you say there are 3 options or there are 2 options. Actually, better than just saying, here's what we need to do, right? Because it gives them that freedom of choice. It makes them feel they're participating in the conversation, and it just doesn't feel salesy or slimy, right? So whenever possible, give them options. Okay. I think we covered all of this. So guys, I know we're almost out of time. I so appreciate you being here today. I love that you're working hard to become more professional and more skilled. I wish everyone in our industry would spend more time. It would make all our lives a lot easier. So thank you for being here. If you feel it's time to have a coach to help you with some of these skills and beyond, go ahead and either click on that link that Van popped up or scan that QR code, and my team will get you scheduled to speak to me so I can see what you might need. And then tomorrow you'll have a copy of this recording, so just watch for that in your email. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.